Hello, how are you? My name is Helen Harrison. I'm from the Empowered Marriage Podcast. I'm the host. You're listening to this podcast because it's attracted your attention. Because today's podcast 63, I can get angry easily. Look, you get a room full of people and you ask how many of them get angry easily. A fair few of them could put their hands up at different times in their life. And I think at no other time, the pressures that people are under at the moment on personal, physical, mental, spiritual levels on a global, worldwide stage is absolutely enormous, the collective. So people are getting angry. And so what I'm going to talk about today is bring it right back to you and what's going on for you. So This podcast is, I've talked about anger before, so I'm going to talk about it again because I think it is a very, very common struggle that people have. And look, I'm sure I've mentioned it on previous podcasts. I remember my oldest, he's now 25, he was 8, and I had so much anger. And that's when I started to seek support and started to see a counsellor. You know, he's just being a dear little boy. Little boys are little boys. But I had this anger and this rage inside of me. I would react. I go 0 to 10 really, really quickly. I didn't know how to deal with it. I was like this pressure cooker and the slightest thing could set me off. So if I'm speaking to you, I'd encourage you to listen to this. What harm is it going to do? It's understanding how anger works inside of you. And anger is an energy. And you know, our bodies are incredible. They're like these vessels that let us know when we need to give them a bit of attention. And anger, it sort of builds up. And so I just want to begin with, perhaps at times anger, you go into that place when you're feeling not heard, not validated, you're feeling invisible, and you're feeling not important. Because, you know, you're listening to the Empowered Marriage, and you're perhaps in a marriage and in a relationship, yet you're feeling some of these strong feelings and you get really angry. And, you know, I've got to stop saying you know. I say that all the time. Sorry about that. When we're having these strong feelings, these feelings can begin to multiply. They can begin to build up inside of us, and they're little pieces of resentment. And they get parked away, and then a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more. And over time, we can begin to feel quite angry and resentful. So it's understanding how anger plays out in you. And so today I'm going to talk about the 5 different ways that are going to help you with anger and to sort of really understand it. So the first one is, first of all, acknowledge the hurt. When you've been triggered, what I mean by triggered is like you might have been going along absolutely fine. So say you've been at work, you come home and your partner says something or does something and you can feel it. You can feel it in your gut. It's like this anger begins to, for some people they go 0 to 10 very quickly and out. And spray it on your partner. That's not effective. That's not an empowered marriage. That's the adult in you behaving like a teenager or behaving very childlike and spraying it out on somebody else. It doesn't work. It's not effective. And is that going to create passion, desire and fun in your empowered marriage? No, of course it's not. So coming back is to acknowledging the hurt. It's feeling it inside of yourself. We are not good at that. We tend to project, and it's all about the other person. But initially, when you first feel that anger and it's come on really easily and quickly, it's acknowledge it. Acknowledge the hurt. And by doing that, it's actually stopping long enough to actually feel it. And so how do you acknowledge the hurt? Look, we're all different. We're all made differently. You know yourself better than anybody. But it comes back to, do I need to go for a run? Do I need to hit in my boxing bag? Do I need to acknowledge it first in my journal so that then I can speak it out to my partner. And if you're not able to speak it out to your partner, speak it out to someone who is going to listen, who isn't going to judge, and who's just going to listen to understand. And if you don't have that person, this is where counselling can be really effective, to begin working through it, but acknowledge the hurt. And it's understanding that in you. Often we're very, very good at not acknowledging the hurt, and we might get have some alcohol, have some food, go online shopping, watch some porn, whatever your vice is. We don't want to feel that hurt. We don't want to feel not validated. We don't want to feel not important. Yet we don't know how to be there for ourselves. So I'll just go to my vices so that the pain doesn't feel so bad. So that's the first thing. If you get angry easily, first of all, acknowledge that hurt inside of yourself. That's the first place. My number 2 is recognize the cost to yourself of getting angry easily. What does that cost to you? I mean, health-wise, it's terrible because you're under enormous stress. Another cost to you, are you going to feel passion, desire, and fun? Of course you're not. With emotions, so over this side, they're not negative or positive. They're just emotions, they're energy. So over this side, there could be feelings of negativity, resentment, anger, sadness. And over here, emotions of joy and fun and well-being. And, they're not wrong or right. But the cost, when we get angry easily, we tend to minimize ourselves down. We tend to not have the full range of emotions. So we may not feel joy easily or fun. I have people sitting in my room and they go, I've forgotten how to feel. I don't know when was the last time that I had fun. And that's what's so great about counselling, is you stop and you be with yourself, because we're so busy rejecting ourselves and running away from ourselves that we don't know how to have alone time with ourselves. And so working with a counsellor is a really great way to begin going inward and having a look to that. And I'm not going to go into it today, but for a lot of us, anger can also be past traumas that we haven't dealt with and that we haven't opened up and we haven't looked at. You just haven't landed on the planet. You will have baggage, and your lovely partner, it's called poking the bear, will trigger you, and it's clean up your baggage. But anyway, that's another podcast. There's many that I've talked about that, and there will be many in the future. But coming back to what I'm talking about today is that you get angry easily, and I'm just giving you different ideas and different ways to look at it to help you and support yourself in that anger, because it's not a nice place. You do not know when you're going to just get angry, and it's your responsibility to deal with that. So my number 1, like I said, was acknowledge the hurt and allow yourself to feel, because we're very good at rejecting ourselves and not being alone with ourselves. So that's my step 1. My step 2 is recognize the cost. The cost to you is you're missing out on so much when you get angry easily, and you tend to lose a lot of your identity, and what makes your heart sing. What's your passion? What's your purpose when you've got that anger sitting there, a bit like a pressure cooker? Or another way I describe it is a bit like a mountain, and it's you've put all the little resentments away, put them away, and you've got this little mountain. You're now at that point where you're a volcanic eruption quite quickly. So you've got to clear that out. That's your responsibility. So my number 3 is let go and make the commitment. So it's making a conscious decision to let go of the anger and resentment, whoever that is on, whether it's on a partner. And for a lot of you listening to this, it will be on a partner, because this is the empowered marriage. But also we can have resentment connected to a parent or to a guardian. And we just transfer that resentment onto our partner very unconsciously. However, the energy is very similar or acting out in this adult relationship. And we become very childlike when our needs aren't met. Anytime we're feeling not important or invisible or unvalidated or rejected. So it's really important to do your work around that and to clear that out and to be at peace. So my number 3 is let go and make the commitment to do your work around this, and also to the place to get to is to accept your partner exactly as they are. But how can you accept your partner? Unless you can accept yourself and love all the bits of you. So really, all of this is coming back to the relationship that you have with yourself. And if you've listened to me long enough, you'll know that the most important relationship you're ever going to have is the one with yourself. And it's being able to accept yourself unconditionally. And when you're wobbly, it's to be able to be there for you. Actually, it's probably an appropriate time. I recently was quite unwell. And anger was coming up in me. And I was angry at myself. I was angry for myself being unwell. So for me, it was about stopping. It was about bringing in compassion. And of course, I know as a little girl, when I was unwell from a really large family, there wasn't a lot of love and a lot of nurturing. So I felt quite unloved and rejected. And it's interesting. I haven't been to the degree of how unwell I felt for a while. And so when that anger came up, it took me a little bit by surprise. But, I've got to do constant daily check-ins with myself, but increase my check-ins with myself when I'm wobbly. And I may go through a couple of weeks where I'm not overly wobbly. And then being unwell, it brought up anger. So I had to attend to myself. I had to acknowledge the hurt, which I've just explained to you. I had to recognise the cost to me. When I'm angry, I'm rejecting myself. I'm walking out on myself. I don't have unconditional love for myself. I'm hard on myself. Excuse me. And so it's letting go and making that commitment to myself. So anger can come in the back door in varying ways. All I'm doing is really touching on the outside, very surfacely, as to how anger may show up for you. And if you get angry easily, it is your responsibility to look at it. My number 4 is to express the emotion. It is so important. When I'm unwell, I get quite emotional, but it's a great opportunity to get in and look deeper as to what's going on for me. And so anger is the top of the emotion. Under anger will be sadness. But we just dance around in anger. We don't drop into the feelings below that, into the sadness. So it's allowing yourself to express the emotion. Sometimes that can be quite difficult for men who were raised in an environment where you weren't able to express your emotion. For some men, they would have received, particularly from their fathers, don't be a girl, don't be a crybaby. Boys don't cry, which is so unhealthy and so harming, because regardless of gender, we all need to express emotion, whether you're a male or a female. Yet we go into our adult lives with these masks and this armour, which doesn't support us because we don't allow ourselves to feel what we're really feeling. So express the emotion. And anger, a boxing bag, a pool noodle, a cushion, screaming, yelling, dancing. You see toddlers in the shopping centre, they know how to express emotion. So that's my number 4. My question to you is, how are you going to express your emotion? So if you get angry easily, it's not about spraying it on your loved ones. It's not about having road rage. It's not about having a bottle of grog and diluting it all down, because the anger will come out anyway, unless you drink so much that you, fall over and go to sleep. None of that is overly positive. So it's the cost to you. So, and number 5, I get angry easily. So it's setting boundaries, your own inward boundaries, as to how you are going to look after yourself, but also setting boundaries if you are perhaps on the receiving end of someone who has hurt you or continues to hurt you. What are your boundaries around that? But you know what? You can only set boundaries if you have a strong sense of your own self-esteem and your self-worth, because you will not set boundaries if you do not. So that's a whole topic in itself. But if you get angry easily, setting your boundaries, bring it to yourself first, in that, okay, I'm going to do some work around it, or I am going to speak up, but I'm going to go away first and express the anger, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to talk about it. So look at your own boundaries first, and then the boundaries of the people in your inner circle. Boundaries could be, having very clear boundaries. If someone, say for example, your partner's verbally offensive to you, is that something that you want to be around? But by having very clear communication and setting boundaries around that is unacceptable for you, and being able to follow through with that. But you aren't able to do any of that if you are not able to connect with your own anger and to move it and feel it and understand it. So all of this, if you're in a relationship where you're looking outside of yourself for your partner to change, get out of their business and bring it back to yourself and look at what you can do, what you can begin working on. So if you get angry easily, it's your responsibility to be able to self-regulate yourself, to be able to bring yourself back down to calm, clear out any anger, and particularly noticing, okay, I'm ready actually to clear out some of my baggage. So it would be about finding a therapist or work with me, excuse me, to clear out that anger, because if you get angry easily, it's your responsibility. So, look, I could talk a lot more about this. It's a really important topic. But if you get angry easily, I think my number one, if I really get into it, is to be able to express your emotion around that. And do it privately with yourself first before you spray it onto anybody else out there. So look, everything I've talked about is in a blog form, so there's pointers. Some people actually print it up and highlight the bits that they're going to work on. And as humans, behaviour takes time to change. And so it's picking one point that you perhaps would like to really focus on and put your energy into that. So anyway, you can find me online on my website, Power of Change. You can also email me, helen@powerofchange.com.au. Look, if any of this has been helpful, I'd love a review. You could send me an emailed review or go on to the Apple podcast. I'm also on Spotify. You can find me there. And I'm very much into educating people around having an empowered marriage. So you live with passion and desire and fun. That is my driving force. And so anyway, on that note, I hope you have enjoyed this. I hope you've got something from this. Let me know if you have. Love to hear from you. And continue living in your empowered marriage, in your empowered life. See you next time.